Let's assume A sells fabric to B, who produces scarves. A regular sale would involve B simply buying a bulk of fabric at the current market price of, let's say, 7 ringgit per meter today. But what if B doesn't need those 100 meters of fabric today and instead need them next year, but wants to pay at today's price? That is where derivatives come in, which are basically contracts. Maybe A will commit to buying 100 meters of fabric at a certain date next year at an agreed upon price of 7 ringgit per meter. So, regardless of what happens to the price of fabric, B promises A she will buy it at today's price. If the price of fabric doubles next year, B will be very happy. If it drops by 50%, A will be happier instead. There are 4 types of derivatives up to date, namely forward, futures, options, and swap. The situation earlier is an example of how a forward contract works. Futures contracts evolved as a result of problems with the forward contract, which are double coincidence of wants that are difficult to be met, differing bargaining positions that are often lead to biased pricing, and counterparty risk, which is the probability of default due to price movements, financial and operational circumstances of counterparty. Futures contract is a standardized forward contract with the existence of an exchange to absorb counterparty risk by becoming the intermediary for buyer and seller. Options contract then came in, giving its buyer the options whether to exercise their rights to sell and to buy or not. They can now benefit from favorable price movements and to manage contingent liabilities. A swap is when 2 parties exchange financial instruments. These instruments can be almost anything, but most swaps involve cash flows based on a notional principal amount that both parties agree to. These modern days have witnessed many tools to help market players in derivatives investment. We have iPrio, MarketSurf, and Cernova Financial. Some elements in derivatives in general are in contradiction with Islamic teachings, evident from Quran and Sunnah. This development of an Islamic derivatives market has been somewhat limited, given many scholars' reservation towards the Sharia permissibility of derivative instruments. Economically, some blame profiteering in derivatives market for price instabilities in commodity markets. Derivative trading also exposes one to abuses and fraud. Some others argue that derivative trading is not a productive economic activity. It is now still a problem that scholars have so far not come to an agreement as to the permissibility of derivative instruments, since this market is growing tremendously. One of the possible solutions would be to consolidate various views and concerns and compile a list of Sharia parameters governing the use of derivatives. If we trace back, derivatives are a credit vehicle created by JP Morgan years ago as a way for banks to diffuse their risk and heighten leverage in the global financial system. It was a success. However, the trading eventually backfired and contributed to the 2008 financial crisis in the US. Warren Buffett refers to them as time bombs and financial weapons of mass destruction, but even still he uses them. The current crisis in Greece is partly due to these dangerous weapons. So why are banks and other companies participating in such risky behavior? Is the outcome really worth the risk?